So, exciting DeSci event. So we have a world premiere that I thought I'd share with this group today. So Dr. Cross, many months ago, was at an event playing with his business card, and he came up with a mascot for Rymedi. So, being at a DeSci event, I thought it'd be appropriate to share with you the launch of Rymedi Guy. So we, in the scientific world, I'm an inorganic chemist, do research all the time. And you can never know what's going on associated with the research that you're doing. So you're always finding new things as you go. And we thought that was an embodiment of Rymedi. So that's the launch of Rymedi Guy, because the CEO had some time to do some stuff and wanted to make a mascot. So when you go to the next conference and you see somebody in an inflatable Rymedi Guy suit, it's probably Dr. Cross running around the convention. Rymedi Guy. Yep, we're not sure it's politically correct, but that's what we came up with. So again, I'm Dave Stefanich. I'm CEO and co-founder with Dr. Cross related to Rymedi. And we thought it'd be fun to talk a little bit about Web3 digital primitives. This is everything I'm going to share with you today is in market. And it's fun to hear themes that were being shared because we too don't believe when I'm talking to a client, do I mention I'm using a Windows operating system? Do I mention that I'm using an Oracle backend? Those are technologies. So there's sexy and then there's practical. And we approach market very much from a very practical sense. So I thought I'd talk about something that I keep hearing a common theme today. When I talk to clients, I ask two questions. What are we trying to enable and what are we trying to prevent? That's question number one that comes out when we start talking to clients about Rymedi. But we always think about who's impacted, and I'd love to hear that common theme today. Patients are impacted, right? Their quality of wellness goes down. Participants are living, breathing people that are going to participate in a clinical trial. If it's a pain in the ass, they're not going to do it. Like we talked, we heard that earlier with Regina. Employees, if you take a clinical trial, rip away all the regulatory, it's a wellness program for companies. Every 6 months, I have to go get my A1C checked. It sounds like a protocol in a cohort. I got to make it easy to go do it. And employers, people are not hiring people because we have a drug epidemic. So how do people bring credentials that they've been following a health and wellness program for a while and bring it to a health fair so they can get hired easier, right? Those are the value props that were out there. And these are just looking for the guardrails by which we can operate this type of company, okay? So that's what we're going to talk about. But my favorite topic is what the hell's really going on with the patient experience, right? We call it at Rymedi the 3 C's: cost, compliance, and coordination. Cost. Our industry is famous for dumping labor at things and just burying the problem underneath labor cost. Those labor costs continue to increase, and it negatively impacts that patient experience. Compliance. Compliance and regulations were not created to make a barrier to make our lives suck. They were created so that there was a quality of a level of care delivered to everyone in the world. It should not be a barrier to entry. It should be a sustainable competitive advantage. And how do companies make it easy to do complex things? I'm a chemist. I'm an engineer. It has its own acronyms as well. It's another language. It's a pain in the ass. Well, how do we figure that out? And the coordination. Clinical trials may be sponsored in the US, but where are they conducted? Ireland, Australia, New Zealand, different places around the world that each have their own compliance and jurisdiction, so it makes it impossible to go do them. So we at Rymedi looked at it and said, how do we fix these kinds of things? How do we take those three things and improve that across all healthcare services? And what I mean, diagnostics. You go to your doctors, that's only one place you actually have a touch care. You go to your local pharmacy, Schedule 4, Schedule 5, over-the-counter diagnostics. You can go purchase them. Did they ever get to your health record in the past? Nope. You have no idea what you did. How do we take that across? If you're going to be walking cash pay, I'm curious. I have high blood pressure, or I'm hypertensive now because I'm the CEO. But hypertension, so all these things. Rymedi is absolutely working with 38 enterprise clients, 1,200 locations, multi-jurisdictions, literally around the world, today in market. So the earlier point about what about technology? We didn't sell technology. We sold solutions that impacted patients. Okay? So how are we achieving what needs to be from the adoption perspective? Well, new technology for new market, right? We like stuff we've been doing for the last 25 years. So what we did is solve real market problems that were going on with the industry. Web3 is chaotic, right? There's so many acronyms. Every time that anybody learned we were a blockchain company, I got asked about their kid who was trading crypto. Okay, I'm tired of hearing about all that stuff. So we built a platform that made it very modular. So if you're doing clinical trials, clinical trial module, patient engagement module. So it's all modular driven with things they can understand. Only a handful of people even ask me what's going on in the backside. FDA, so we have a master file with the FDA, so a master application file. So we're in that process of moving towards being a digital device at one day. But all of that structure, we heard the Pharma Ledger guys talking about a quality management system and how we do that. All the code and all our processes are structured to be compliant across multi-jurisdictional pieces. And we did that hybrid approach where if you're not looking for the benefits associated with it, you're not actually going to do it, right? So there's a little bit of tech, a little bit of innovation, but we blended it all together. And Jay is right. This is one of the few times that I actually get to talk about the tech. So let's explain it a little bit. So what we did is we built a hierarchy of 3 different subnets, but it was compliance by design. So from day one, we said, let's make a compliant platform for our industry. What tech is required, right? I didn't need sexy buzzword of the day. I don't have an AI engine shoved in the middle because it was a cool thing to add tomorrow. So I looked at it, we segmented a logical and a physical. So PII transactions cannot be accidentally released, right? They're on their own separate subnet of how that works. And for people that don't know, publicly identified or personal identifiable information lets you know who you are, your address, your SOC, date of birth, those kind of attributes. But in conjunction, when those transactions are being executed, there's a PHI. So every time Jason has one single PII record, he might have a drug test, he might have a cancer treatment, he might have a rash he can't explain to somebody and he wants to go get it checked, right? So I might have multiple PHI transactions associated with one PII. And I can't blend those two, right? So we physically and logically separated them. Then what we did is we took a tertiary algorithm and we made a Rymedi connecting piece. So the only way that PII can be connected with the PHI is through a tertiary key set that I've leveraged various algorithms, SHA-256, RSA algorithms to it. So the only way that could ever be joined is through the platform, which is permissioned. So you have a permissioned platform for a single transaction. That DNA helix is the backbone of how Rymedi runs, okay? Let's say that Jay gets a bunch of different tests done. So over time, that matures into his medical record. So all of that binding of those 2 sides of that helix come together over time. That's the genealogy of Jason's life. Data sets are not finite. Oh, wait, let me say that again. Data sets are not finite. They have a genealogy, right? When you're 16 years old, your mother has access to your records. Then you turn 21 years old, you go to Europe. Now I'm not FDA, I'm GDPR. But then I want to come back and participate in a clinical trial when I'm 23. So that stitching of his life history of those transactions are what's valuable to research. It's what can be leveraged to have the genealogy of Jason's life, not just from a finite perspective. And that's the way we approach research and how we do that together. So what does that backbone of what a Rymedi is bring to it? Design workflows. Our clients don't want sexy, they want practical. Practical means I got a simple workflow that I do over and over and over. I'm a trained phlebotomist, I understand it. That's what our clients buy. Something easy, patient-facing, doctor-facing, clinician-facing, they can work through. Automating those core clinical processes as we go through. And digitizing those manual aspects of consenting, permissioning, AOE questions. If you get asked, are you pregnant, right? All that has to be done, and those sort of things are a violation. Batch records, we were talking about earlier. If you have a batch record violation in pharma, the whole thing is thrown away. If you use a pen and mark it more than once, they throw it away too. It's crazy. The tech-enabled services allow that interoperable hub. So I have labs, the 2nd largest lab in North America, Quest Diagnostics, working closely with a clinical trial group that's doing, let's say, a COVID vaccine clinical trial, but also had the population that's engaging. So there's 3 sides to each of those transactions as we go through. But that blockchain-based compliance engine allows people that don't know how to be compliant to every time have those transactions compliantly executed, so they can't be used for research, but they also be used for wellness. And they also can be used for treatments. because we took the highest level of regulatory compliance, generated a real-world evidence engine for each of those transactions. Because you never know how the genealogy of Jason's data is going to be used over time. So why not prepare for that as we go forward down the road? The fun part, especially being here, is these roles that we were talking about. One of the things we ran into is I needed blinding speed. Okay? So I spent some time with the Avalanche guys. They run a lot of the Blizzard backboning stuff. I'm using 3 subnets, so I'm processing on protocol roughly 60,000 transactions a second. I'll let that sink in. That's a metric shit ton in the blockchain world, okay? The reason being is because the same speed you need in a retail market, you need in that healthcare market, right? We're getting tests every day. People are getting treated every single day. So it's super important to have that digital compliance primitive built into the EVM, Ethereum virtual machine, which is the one single connection hub for compliance, right? Because it's got to be easy to use. Got to be easy to use. So the one technical drawing I was allowed today is technically that's how it all runs. And just to share with the group a little bit, so 3 different subnets are running 15 validators. So every single side of the helix runs independent with its own validation engine. Cross-chain interoperability is very secure between protocols. I'm not using a traditional cross-plane, cross-platform plasma adapter. All of that's internal. If you go out to Avalanche browser today, type in Rymedi, production nets are up. Okay, so you can go out there and see what transactions are being run real time, real speed in production today. So you're like, how did this journey kind of continue? So where were we? So the blockchain primitive was used initially here with these healthcare apps, right? I've got some SaaS D apps out there. What's been really fun is a platform, Rymedi, now has others building on top of it. So a clinical trial company wants to do solicitation to patients. You want to have that history, which we heard a little bit earlier. A third party has put a module on top, gets all the benefits of global compliance, speed of transactions, unprecedented levels of security inside of our architecture, but it allows innovative companies that are early stage to go quicker to market because they reference our master application file with the FDA, get the box checked for compliance. What's super been exciting is that core piece, that core primitive compliance piece we talked about is starting to get asked about other industries. We're an early stage company, we're 5 years old, we have $1.5 million plus lives on platform. We know our lane, but we're not limiting the adoption of what that primitive compliance engine is across those different industries. And as that continues to expand, it'll be interesting as that market goes forward. Okay, so proof is in the pudding. So we have a few quotes, and I made sure the Sava quote was on there today. So, right there, knew you're gonna be here. But it's exciting because from a research perspective, Clemson Precision Medicine Initiative is live on our protocol today. They're doing a bunch of stuff with genetic testing, looking for different disease treatments. Clinical trials, we were deeply involved in all the Moderna trial work that was being done, especially across the academic arena, some of the institutions. There's a couple papers written from Clemson, so handling that research side we've already done. I mentioned Quest Diagnostics, the second largest diagnostic lab in North America. We support 8,500 various analytes that are out there within that portfolio. And they are deep in the clinical trial space, but that lab only represents 2% of the entire clinical trial market that's out there. A ton of that is independent labs. So we're seeing consolidation in the occupational health, the clinical diagnostic space, clinical research, and clinical trials. So there's actually 11 lines of business. So we're one of the only ordering platforms that can handle any type of order across anything across Quest Diagnostics and bringing that into a single thing. But they're seeing business growth opportunities because they're a small segment in clinical trials. They can grow into clinical trials just by the enablement of the technology, right? So it isn't we didn't treat regulatory controls in these new markets as a barrier. It's an opportunity to streamline efficiencies. To give you an order of magnitude, Quest does what? Roughly 6,000 or 6 million tests a day. Okay, that's crazy. And I know our commercial model. Let's go for 8 million, right? We like to make money in the market. Cepheid, from the device perspective, we have to speak HIPAA GDPR as much as we speak pharmaceutical regulations, as much as we talk about 510Ks. What is a medical device? When you're grabbing data in that origination point, the genealogy back to Jason's record from what real world evidence is, I want to know exactly where that device is being used to help grab an analyte from Jason, right? If a doctor makes a decision about your standard of health, where do you think they get the analytical information to decipher? Diagnostics, right? It's an integral part of our lives. We just don't realize it as much. And there's more than just getting my chart from Epic, or Cerner, Epic, I think, Epic, okay? So understanding where that's being used in market is super important for us from that perspective. So when I began, if you remember, what are we trying to enable and what are we trying to prevent was blank, right? We had to think about what was in the market, what's going on. What we were enabling, multi-jurisdictional compliance with data genealogy. What is that life data set related to Jay's entire life as him as a member of the human species in conjunction to his own personal care? Regulatory adoption to standards. They're always evolving, but how do you stay above? Making sure that we worry about the burden of the multi-jurisdictional compliance and give you a platform to enable those kind of things to occur. Third-party software, right? Open API, REST APIs with JSON objects on the backside. Not JSON objects, which is our favorite joke, but JSON objects. Standardized data across partners, I shared earlier. A state we integrate with across the US, there's 50 of them. They use about 53 data points to do reporting, okay? If you have HIV, Hep C, any of those kind of things you have to report. The single data object that handles all 50 states has north of 190 data elements to take care of their requirements. So standards really don't exist, it's more a suggestion. We handle all that stuff for those attributes. So that's what we're enabling out there. What are we trying to prevent? That lack of trust, which means people don't want to participate in a clinical trial. Oh, I'm going to lose my stuff. I'm going to lose my control. The world's going to find out I've got a medical problem. Well-intended regulatory landscape that was a barrier. Why not make sure everybody gets that level of care and level of wellness in their lives that we strive for as a company? And individuals opting out due to just complexity. So our proof point, I have an 85-year-old mother. I show it to her. We designed the health pass, and she goes, oh, that looks like a boarding pass, so I can get on a plane and come see you. I'm like, yep, we got a good design, folks, because if my mother, who's 5 feet tall and a mean Hungarian woman, can do it, anybody can. So that's our proof points for removing complexity. But the important thing is, going back to that patient, they want to be able to seek wellness in their lives. They don't want to go, I don't want to go to a doctor, it's a pain in the ass. Participants looking in clinical trials, lowering cost, making surveillance work so that we can bring products to market faster. The employees seeking their wellness that they have to do at the office as an extension of their personal care. Poof, right? How do we leverage and not make it, oh, I have to at the office, it's a part of who I am. If I get my A1C checked every 6 months so I can lower my insurance, why isn't that just part of my standard of care? And employers, how do we hire people faster with credentialing? This is a healthy person. They've got a health record coming in. Look, they've already been done. I'm mitigating my risk. We have seen acceleration of employers at job fairs using it because if you're participating in a clinical trial or going to a job fair, it's the same thing, just without the regulations. Some people will get accepted, some people don't. That's all handled within a Rymedi platform so that they can do hiring faster. Why not get that job offer when it's a competitive market? Why are we doing these kind of things? So this is what Rymedi's doing. Again, giving those guardrails of making compliance a sustainable competitive advantage, make it easier for people to stay focused on the patient, participant, employee, and how they're doing things, and then leveraging that for a scale in a global market that has complexity, but it doesn't have to be complex. It's not about the sexy, it's about the practical, bringing that kind of thing to our lives. So again, if you have any questions, give me a holler. We'll be around for most of the afternoon, and I'm gonna wrap it up, and I appreciate being able to share some tech stuff.